All right. Hello again, and welcome to Save It to the Cloud. Again, my name is Amy. I am one of the reference librarians here. I'm very excited for this program. I think it's going to be like very useful. I always learn new things. I'm excited to introduce Mike Gershbein. He is from Very Smart People. He's going to be teaching you guys on this topic. And also, just to reiterate, if you have questions during the program, there is a Q&A box at the bottom of the Zoom screen. And then we also have the chat enabled. If for whatever reason you have any issues, please like use either one of those to speak up. And either Mike or I will help. And I'm just going to hand it over to Mike right now and let him let him introduce himself and get going on tonight's class.
Thanks for coming, everybody. So my name is Mike Gershbein, and I've taught at this library many times. I have my own business, Very Smart People. Taught online, taught in person. Today we are talking about the mysteries of the cloud. A few things to keep in mind. First of all, as an FYI, I'm doing this on a computer that I don't usually use for these types of things. So if something not working correctly, I apologize in advance. I'll try to fix it. And in desperation, I can switch to my regular computer. But, new things. We can't be afraid of them, right? I've got your chat room over to the right and your Q&A over to the right, so I can keep an eye on that, and I keep glancing over there, which is why I'm doing that. Also, I have my notes over there, which is not a bad idea to have handy. So, other than that, I do just like to warn you that I am dependent upon the internet and technology like anyone else. So I apologize in advance if anything goes wrong. This class, it's hard for me to switch. A lot of times when I'm doing this in person, I'll switch between computers and devices and things like that online. It becomes tricky. But that being said, we'll power through. Oh, one more thing. In the chat room, I'm going to put my name and my email. Oh, this made my first mistake of the evening, but I was able to correct it right away. All right. And my email, feel free to reach out if you want me to send you a copy of this presentation. My email is mike@vspchicago.com. mike@vspchicago.com. That's VSP for Very Smart People. Let's go. All right. So today we are talking about the cloud. Mysteries of the cloud. I like to include the word cloud in this presentation because it is mysterious and sexy and gets everybody really interested in this program. And really, a lot of this program is just all about backing up your computer and sharing, but that stuff isn't quite as exciting as talking about the cloud and everything. It's funny because like I do all these technology classes, and like every class ends up dealing with the cloud somehow because everything's on the cloud, it turns out. Do not be afraid of the cloud. You've been using the cloud for a while. We'll talk about what that all means. But yeah, I mean, really, the cloud just makes your life a little bit easier. Now, and by the way, when I talk about the cloud, I know this is confusing in that people will say, "Oh, my this is on the cloud, my that is on the cloud." The cloud is just kind of a generic term. There are all kinds of products that run on the cloud. So, your product, your stuff may be on Apple's version of the cloud, which is iCloud, or maybe on Microsoft's version of the cloud, or maybe on somewhere on a cloud you've never even heard of, you never even dreamt exists, a cloud that you'll probably never know about anyway. It's just out there floating amongst the other clouds, but it's not as well known as for example, Apple's cloud. So all these different products that I will try to demystify in a moment. But really, what we're talking about today is backing up. Before I get to the cloud, I will just mention backing up your stuff on site. You don't want to lose your stuff. You want to back it up. So we'll talk about on-site backup, not using the cloud, using the cloud to back up, how the cloud can be used to store your stuff and allow you to collaborate, and then specifically your cloud options for backing up your photos, which deserve their own category here when we look at irreplaceable things, photos, you don't want to lose the 20,000 photos you've taken of your kids and grandkids. Those are really irreplaceable. A lot of the photo stuff intersects with all the other cloud stuff I'll be talking about as well. So what is the cloud? The cloud is basically just a way of storing your stuff in other places. You could store your stuff on your computer, your files, your emails, your photos, which is fine. In a lot of cases, you do store it on your computer, but this allows you to store it somewhere else. There are some huge advantages in having your stuff stored outside of your computer. We'll kind of talk about that a little bit. So if you imagine a computer sitting somewhere else, computer sitting in downtown Chicago or Arizona, a lot of cloud computing is there, or Taiwan, wherever it's sitting, there are these computers sitting out there holding onto your stuff. And guess what? You've been using the cloud for years and years. Whether you know it that you've been using the cloud, think about something like email. All your emails are probably sitting in a computer somewhere. Why are they sitting in that computer somewhere? Because you want to grab your phone and check your email. Your phone can then look at that computer, look at your emails through your phone. You want to go to a computer at home or go to a computer at the library, or you're on vacation in France and go to a computer there and check your email. You can do it. If all your stuff was just sitting on one device, you wouldn't be able to do that because it would just be on one device. That's how email used to be. But because it's on all these devices, because it's in the cloud, computer somewhere, you can access this from pretty much anywhere. It's just awfully darn convenient. There are three major companies that kind of control the cloud business. This is, by the way, if you ever hear of these data centers, this is they pop up in the news every once in a while. Chicago has some big data centers here and there. They just I can't remember. There's one. I think I can't remember. There's one in the news recently. They announced a new data center. It's basically massive warehouses full of computers storing your and other people and businesses stuff. And that's what they do. And they keep them air conditioned really well. And everybody's pulling this stuff from it. So these are massive, like Reno. There's one that's 7.2 million square feet, literally of just basically a warehouse storing these computers, holding your stuff. Pretty big, and they're all over the place. Three big companies controlling the cloud market, and these are not obscurities. You may have heard of some of these. Amazon has about a third of the cloud storage market. I don't know if any of you are Amazon investors, but if you look at how Amazon makes its money, typically its cloud services have been the biggest moneymaker for Amazon. Yeah, they sell a lot of stuff too. I don't know offhand how much profit they make from that, but storing people's stuff on computers, turns out that's a big part of Amazon's business. And if you look at their filings, you'll learn that about them. Another company you may have heard of that has about a fifth of the market is a little company called Microsoft. And Google has maybe 10% of the market as far as cloud storage. So major companies, that's 60, 70% of the market, make a lot of money with stuff sitting on computers that the people who have the stuff don't own. This is my techiest slide. This is just there to impress you and for you to go walk away and impress your friends and family. But when we talk about the cloud, there are kind of three major ways that cloud services are kind of classified. There's infrastructure as a service, and this is actually applicable to a lot of you because you may have worked at a big company. I've worked at back in the day at one of the big, at the time it was the big six consulting firms, and it used to be that you had a floor in the building dedicated to computer servers, whole department dealing with these computer servers, and they held all your stuff there in the building. And it turns out, like a lot of stuff, you're able to move that stuff to a separate place, outsource it, and move that computer infrastructure away from the actual building. So you no longer have as many of these floors, if any, of computers running that business. They're sitting, once again, in Las Vegas or wherever, running kind of that infrastructure of all the stuff that you do in your business, files that you access, things like that, in the cloud somewhere away from the actual building. That's a huge business. Platform as a service isn't really that interesting to you unless you are a computer programmer. But really, the one that we probably use most is software as a service, and that's kind of this idea that you have in the past, and you can still go and buy something like Microsoft Word and put it on your computer, and that's buying a program or an app. That's kind of the old way of doing stuff. Or you can go to Google Docs, which is a website. It's Google and all of Google stuff. Think about it. Pretty much all of Google stuff. Most of Google stuff is not actual things that you hold. Yeah, they make a couple things, but most of their stuff is websites and online services. So you can go to Google Docs, use their free kind of version of word processing, and that's on a website. It's not on your computer. It's just sitting out there in the cloud, website somewhere that you can then use to create your documents, things like that. So software as a service is really kind of all this stuff that you use that you don't have to have on your computer. It's just sitting out there somewhere and you can use it. Like I said, I think that's my techiest slide. Why has everything moved to the cloud? And by the way, in certain, if you really want to get technical, there are certain things where people will debate whether the cloud is as good as hosting something locally, and there are some advantages of having something on your computer or on your phone. Those of you who are really forward thinking, we're talking about AI, and is AI going to be sitting in the cloud, or will it, actually Apple says it'll probably mostly be sitting on your iPhone, but anyway, that's just me babbling. But in general, it's space saving, so you don't have to have a bunch of computers holding your stuff. They're sitting somewhere else. So, you can get rid of those floors of computers, or imagine, if you had to have all these processors in your house. It is a rental model, so you don't have to go and buy a bunch of equipment. You can just pay by the month in order to use these things, or a lot of your cases, maybe you're using free. Most stuff is starting to charge at a certain point. Safe and supported. You don't hear about your Gmail going down that often. It has happened a couple times in the past, and it's major news when it happens, but it sure does not happen a lot. And if you consider the number of people who use Google services, Gmail and things like that, pretty insane that it's as stable as it is. So, these are sitting in these computer warehouses, and people are supporting them. You don't have to go and support these things. If something goes wrong with Google Docs and your documents, yeah, it's bad, but that almost never happens. It almost never goes down, and if it does, there are theoretically people dealing with it. Ubiquitous and on demand. You can get stuff anywhere. Like I said, not just your email, but if you're using a cloud service. I was just at a client yesterday, and we were working on some of their stuff as far as accessing their documents, because they go on vacation for a few months a year, and they want all of their documents to be available wherever they are. And if they're sitting on a computer at home, that means they got to take the computer with them, or put the documents somewhere where they can access them from wherever, aka the cloud, whenever they want. So, any time of day, log into something, you can get the stuff. Redundant and efficient, that's technical. It means stuff, they manage the hard drives so they work really well. And potentially these things may have extra services that they offer as well. Now, this is the one that freaks everybody out. I know there's at least 12 of you who are worried. No, there's at least one or two of you who are worried about the cloud safety. Okay, and I've been teaching this for years, and I've never been able to come out with a pat answer, other than the fact that there are people who will not put their stuff in the cloud. Okay, which is fine. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. You'll lose these advantages of the cloud, but that's your lifestyle. That's fine. As I said earlier, you already have been using the cloud. If you've been using email, your stuff is sitting out there on computers where theoretically somebody could get to your stuff. Has anybody hacked Gmail? No, not per se. Nobody's gone on the servers and stolen stuff. Most major cloud services have not been hacked. Most stuff has not been stolen. Another thing to keep in mind, though, is we do hear about things like hacks and stuff being stolen. And it's always useful to pay attention to how these things were hacked. because a lot of the major hacks that happen aren't some brilliant computer scientist breaking into a computer and stealing your stuff. It is some person who may be brilliant or maybe an idiot, but you know what? They're calling you up and they're saying, "Oh, this is Microsoft. Your password has been compromised. We need to reset it. Give me your password and we're going to reset it." And then you talk on the phone, and you give them your password and you log in and things like that. And all of a sudden, they get your stuff. They're in your cloud. Yeah, that's bad if if you're giving people access to the stuff and you don't ever want to have to face that, then you may not want to use the cloud. That being said, if you practice safe kind of password safety, then this is less of an issue. So that's not to say that tomorrow, stranger things have happened. Tomorrow, all of a sudden, Google announces that they had a major breach and all their email has been stolen for the last 20 years, but that hasn't happened. Presumably, Google has people who know what they're doing to keep your stuff safe. Presumably, most of the other cloud servers have people who keep your stuff safe. And as long as you practice kind of safe habits, then hopefully that stuff stays safe. But once again, there are people who won't do it. You won't do it. Yeah, probably don't want to be in this class, if you don't want to do it. All right. So let's talk a little bit about just backing up in general. There's kind of a classic, what we call the 3-2-1 backup strategy, which you could do. It's in certain ways it doesn't quite apply, but it's a good way to think about backing up. And that's this idea of backing up your computer to 3 different places, 2 of which are local, meaning sitting on a hard drive, and 1 of which is offsite. And kind of the idea when this came out was, well, you could take this hard drive somewhere else to a bank and put it in your safe deposit box, or you use the cloud. I mean, yeah, pretty much. If you didn't want to use the cloud, that would be one option. Or use the cloud. The point being, you have 2 different local backups. First of all, why would you want a local backup on a hard drive? It's just easier to get to your stuff. If something happens, you accidentally delete something like that, or your computer goes bad, you've got this little hard drive sitting there. Why might you want to? Because hard drives go bad, and if you're really concerned about losing your life's work, and that hard drive goes bad, hopefully this other hard drive is not going bad. And I mean, really, if you're really uptight's not the right word, but like I have a client who's writing a book and really doesn't want to lose her work, backing up to a few different places locally. So that's a good idea. If you back it up 1 place locally and the cloud, then that's good too. My approach is typically I have something running a local backup, which I'll talk about in a second. And then I back it up to another hard drive every once in a while. So it doesn't have the constant backups, but that way I can do it monthly, something like that. Now, you also have this cloud backup because you could be backing up your hard drive to 10 different hard drives, 10 different local drives, and your house burns down. All the drives are gone. It doesn't matter how many drives you've backed it up to. All your stuff is gone. So if you have an offsite backup to the cloud, it doesn't matter what happens to your computer or your devices. They all go bad, bad karma, whatever. Your stuff is backed up somewhere else and it's safe. So that's my approach. I tend to be anal about backing up stuff. I back it up probably more places than most people want to. But that it's because it's easy and just gives me a real sense of security that I'm not going to lose something important. If you're looking to back up to a local hard drive and you have a Windows machine, you'll be using something called file history. If you have a Mac, you'll be using something called Time Machine. Both of these require you to go and buy an external hard drive. A terabyte of storage on an external hard drive runs about $50-$60. They have WD, or Western Digital is a drive manufacturer that makes these drives. There are other ones as well. I'm throwing them out just because they tend to be reasonably priced. Best Buy, Target, whatever, they all have these. Amazon. Buy one of these, hook it up to your computer. If you have Windows, search it for file history. If you have Mac, search it for Time Machine. On Mac, it's also in the top right-hand corner. And it will tell, and plug in that hard drive to your computer, and your computer will say, "Oh, we noticed there's a hard drive plugged in here. Do you want to use this for backing up your computer?" And you say, "Sure." And it walks you through that. And as long as that hard drive is plugged into your computer, it constantly backs up stuff from your computer. Now, as far as what it backs up, it'll specifically, there's slight differences between the Mac and the Windows, but generally they back up your documents and your desktop. So it's not necessarily going to back up your entire computer, like if you wanted to do a snapshot of all the stuff running your computer, but it will back up the important stuff, your documents and your photos, things like that. So I think it's worth doing. It's not like it used to be many years ago where you'd have to sit down and go, oh, I need to back up my stuff and make copies of them and drag them to that external hard drive. As long as that thing is plugged into your computer and file history or time machine is turned on, it will constantly back up your stuff without you giving it any thought. So the next thing I want to talk about are cloud backup services. And there are a couple differences. I've got some other kind of built-in backup services that are other options that are not quite as full-featured as these. These are kind of third-party products where you go and you pay them a certain amount per year. You install this on your computer, and then these products, middle of the night, whenever you want, during the day, whatever, back up your computer's documents, and they actually back up more stuff than some of the built-in backup that I'll be talking about later. So they're really comprehensive backup solutions for your computer. Once again, great for peace of mind, and they have other advantages as well. And as far as kind of what differentiates them, they're gonna all be pretty reliable. I have to say, of the ones I'm mentioning to you, there might be other ones as well, but I'm recommending three particular ones. How secure are they? None of them have had big breaches. The next one is kind of a little bit different for all of them. How easy is it to get to your stuff? So all of a sudden you realize you deleted a file from your computer and you had it 6 months ago. How easy is it for you to go on the internet and bring up your files and say, bring back this file, restore it, or your entire computer gets wiped for whatever reason, it breaks or it gets a malware that locks you out. How easy is it for you to go and say, give me all of my stuff? I want all my documents back. I want all my photos back. Once again, a lot of them use either an app or a website where you can go and just say, give me all this stuff. Some of them will actually send you a hard drive and they'll send you all your stuff on a drive and you just plug it into your computer and use it that way. And that's kind of a big deal. How flexible are they? Kind of how many places can you access them from an app, from a website, things like that. How many versions of your documents do they keep? This is important to some people where if you had a version of a document from, once again, 6 months ago, and you needed to go back to that version, are you going to be able to do that? How far back does that go? And then the cost to do it. And there's a wide variety in the cost. So the main services that I am recommending, once again, pointing out there are other services out there as well, and you can certainly consider any of them. This is not comprehensive, but these are three of the big ones, which are Backblaze, Carbonite, and iDrive. I use Backblaze myself. I've found it to be pretty friendly over the years. It costs $70 per year for each computer that you're backing up. For me, I think that's a pretty reasonable price. Once again, all of these, you install them on the computers that you want to back up. Don't even think about it. From that point on, they just back up and back up over time, and you have that peace of mind should you ever need to do it. So $70 per year, unlimited storage. Back up as much stuff as you want, but one computer, back up as much stuff as you want. They have a courier service that's available, meaning that if you wanted them to ship you, if you lost your computer and you wanted them to ship you a physical hard drive, they will do that with all your stuff on it. Or once again, you can just go to the website and recover individual files. If that's more convenient than waiting for a hard drive. But if you get a hard drive, it's a little bit faster to restore the stuff. You can set it. Their default isn't 1 year. It's weird. It's like 1 month of versions, but you can go in there and change it for free to 1 year worth of versions. Carbonite, Carbonite's been around a long time. It has a decent reputation, but its pricing is kind of weird. And it's not really quite as Mac friendly because with Carbonite, their basic plan backs up your documents, and then they have an advanced plan that will also back up your external hard drives. It's a $112 plan. Backblaze will automatically back up your external hard drives, which is meaningful if you do stuff like store photos on an external hard drive because they take up so much space. So the $112 will do it, but it doesn't back up quite everything from a Mac. For some reason, I think they exclude video files, something like that, from a Mac. And then they have a $150 one. And this is, once again, these are all per device that allows you to use that courier service in order for them to ship stuff to you. So I don't think the pricing on Carbonite is quite as good. I don't know where I would recommend it, to be honest, but it is kind of one of the other big names. iDrive is an interesting one. It's 79.50 per year, but you can back up unlimited devices, meaning you can go and get this plan, put it on two computers, put it on yours and your spouse's computer, with the caveat being that unlike the previous two plans, you're limited to 5 terabytes of storage. 5 terabytes is a lot of storage. You could probably back up 4 or 5 computers to that. Once again, keep in mind what it's backing up are documents and photos and things like that. So that's actually a pretty good deal with iDrive. They do offer courier service as well. And then both iDrive and Carbonite don't offer all the versioning that the other ones do to get back the old previous versions. They'll offer, Backblaze and iDrive offer document sharing if you want to, meaning if you have a document sitting in that backup and you want somebody else to be able to access it, you can send them a link and they can access it. Because of its weird couple of things that it doesn't back up, Carbonite's not as Mac friendly as Backblaze and iDrive. It will work with Macs, but I'm not sure what their deal with as far as kind of discriminating with that. I already kind of pointed out the courier service. Oh, no, external drives. If once again, I pointed that out. If you have an external drive hooked up to your computer, if you are a real tech geek and you want to do something which most people don't bother doing anymore, an entire clone of your hard drive, meaning that if something has happened to your computer, it's a photocopy of every single thing on your drive that you can just install to a new computer. So it's just like the old one. Most people don't need to do it. It's overkill these days. These days, what you would do is, as long as your documents are backed up, because Microsoft, for example, knows that you bought Word and Quicken knows that you bought Quicken, you can just reinstall those apps and then bring over the documents that store all your data. So cloning isn't really necessary, but if any of you are dying to do it, iDrive offers that. So these are all comprehensive services. They're fairly easy to set up. Once again, the two that I've played around with are Backblaze and Carbonite. I think I had Carbonite years ago, and I moved to Backblaze because I don't remember why. But I haven't personally used iDrive. It tends to be well reviewed, plus that pricing difference. One of the other ones, your antivirus may have a backup as well. Maybe you like that. I'm not intimate with all of those. Point being, you subscribe to a service, set it up, computer's backed up, and you even I get weekly emails telling me that my backups have been good this week, and so you've got that peace of mind. So those are full-fledged services. We've also got some other stuff to consider. I'm calling them cloud storage and sync services, because what happens is a lot of people will talk about some of these, and there are things like Google Drive or OneDrive or iCloud. People will talk about these like they're backup services. And when you talk to kind of computer security experts, I'm not a computer security, I don't do computer security for a living like some of these guys do or gals do. But you talk to them and they say, oh, no, these aren't the backup. Okay. These are sync. With the other products I just talked about are real backup services. They offer some real advantages that these don't have. That being said, these are all pretty useful and pretty good services that you should at least consider to make your stuff both in another place, which I will call backup, despite what these people say, and syncing and making them available for either you to access other places or for other people to potentially collaborate with your stuff. So they'll back up your documents and photos. You can provide links to these files in a lot of cases. And you can even make some of these files so that you can collaborate on them, which is really, really useful if you're in any organization and you want multiple people to work on a spreadsheet. You're planning your block party and you want multiple people to put down what they're bringing to the block party, or your church group you're planning, or you're coming up with a document and you all want to kind of either see the document or contribute to the document. Really, really useful in all of these cases. You can share photos as well. Like I said, I'm going to talk more specifically about photos in a little bit, and then they may have other kind of services built in. So we are talking about these four: Dropbox, Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, and iCloud. And I think I got iCloud a little bit separate because it's Apple specific. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit different. So Dropbox is kind of the classic one. I'm not recommending Dropbox just because it's a little bit of a, I won't say ripoff. It's more expensive than some of the other options that are out there. Now, you may have to use Dropbox because your organization uses it, which is fine. You get a certain amount of storage in Dropbox for free, so there's nothing wrong with using it. But if you're going to use it regularly, not necessarily the best option. But all of these are similar in certain ways in that they will take your documents, whether it's Dropbox, Google Drive, or OneDrive, and put them somewhere in the cloud so that you can access them from anywhere. So in the case of Dropbox, you will go ahead and get the app for Dropbox and put it on whatever device you're using, your phone, your computer, multiple computers, sign in, and all those documents sitting in your Dropbox are available other places. And for those of you who have used it, and don't use it extensively, maybe you've had the experience where somebody has one document that they need you to get, and they'll put it in Dropbox and give you access to it, and then you can access it there. You don't have to use this desktop app. In that case, you can go to the website and ask that and use that document from there. So Dropbox, classic oldie but goodie, but for most of you, Google Drive and or OneDrive are better options in that they are much more reasonably priced. So Google Drive, the nice thing about Dropbox is not kind of tied to one of these companies because like a lot of things in the technology world, we have three faces. We have Google, Microsoft, and Apple. And it's always nice. It's similar with web browsers. We have, Edge by Microsoft and Chrome by Google and Safari by Apple. And then there's, for those of you who use Firefox, if you don't want to use one of those companies. So that's kind of how this world is too, with Dropbox being an external company. Google obviously makes Google Drive. Google Drive just started charging a couple of years ago. Some of you have been shocked. And I know because I have clients who say, Google Drive is yelling at me that I'm going to have to start paying for storage because turns out after years and years of using Google, they decided that they're going to start charging you if your total storage of documents, Google Photos, so I'll talk about a little bit later, and Gmail is more than 15 gigabytes. So I know what happens in a lot of cases is people will go in and you're getting close to that 15 gigabytes. You start crazily deleting emails and deleting documents or things or deleting photos, things like that, which is an option for you if you want. It'll take some time, but they give you certain ways to find your biggest stuff and get rid of them. Or you can pay $1.99 per month, and then they give you, I think, like a terabyte of storage for free. So up to you if you want to pay the 24 bucks and not have to worry about Google Drive storage or not. So Google Drive is a place to store your stuff. Google Drive allows you to either put individual documents onto the cloud so that you can access them from anywhere. You have a Google account, go sign in wherever, you're on vacation, you're at work, sign into the Google account, and anything that you've put in Google Drive, either on your computer using the Drive for Desktop app, which is an app that you can install on your computer and say, okay, back up all these files to Google Drive. Or if you have individual files, you can go to the Google Drive website and upload individual files. Another thing you could do is individual folders, upload individual folders. So let's say, for example, you have once again, you're planning an event, or you have legal documents, something like that. You could say, these are not only really important, but also maybe I want to give somebody access to them. You can put them in Google Drive, either go to the Google Drive website and say, I'm going to put these up there, or install the app to kind of keep it constantly adding stuff to Google Drive whenever you make changes to those documents, make changes to those folders, things like that. And then you can access those from anywhere, and people can, if you allow people can then access them as well. Now, OneDrive is built into Windows computers. They've been pushing it on you for ever since you bought that Windows 10 machine. They're getting more and more aggressive, Microsoft, which isn't to say it's a bad thing. What OneDrive does is allow you to access all those documents that used to only be on your computer anywhere. You can access them once again on the internet by going to onedrive.com because you're going, this example I just gave you, you're going on vacation and you're going to be away for 3 months or whatever, your winter home, and all your files on that used to just be on your computer are now sitting in that OneDrive, and so you can access them. You need an account with Microsoft, which most of you probably have if you have a Windows computer. You can get an app, the OneDrive app, on your phone. If you're a Mac user, you can get it on a Mac, but it's built into Windows itself. So when you get Windows, their approach has changed over the years. Now, Microsoft will give you a bunch of scary warnings that your computer's not backed up. And what that means is you don't have OneDrive turned on, meaning that if you go to your documents, say something in your documents, they're only on your computer. They're not in OneDrive documents. And it's a little bit confusing. Microsoft's approach has changed over the years and how they're pushing it out. So it's a little bit confusing, but that's what they're saying. Your computer's not been backed up, meaning you don't have OneDrive turned on. Your files are only on your computer. If you want to turn OneDrive on, there's two options. One is that in the bottom right-hand corner of your Windows machine, there's a little icon that looks kind of like cloud that you can click on, and that will allow you to go into the settings and say, back up my stuff. There's also an app now called Windows Backup, and that one allows you to turn on OneDrive, plus it backs up other kind of settings from your computer, which is kind of nice in that if you ever get a new Windows computer, you can restore those settings from the backup, and it will save a lot of your like Wi-Fi passwords and things like that. I wouldn't estimate what it saves, but it will save some stuff, including those files. And it doesn't have to be everything. You can say, don't back up my documents, just back up my photos. But it will be typically photos, documents, and desktop and music that you're allowed to back up. Catch being that Microsoft gives you 5 gigabytes of storage for free, and once you start to hit that limit, it costs $1.99 per month. Now, a couple things about that. First of all, 5 gigabytes is not a lot, but as long as you're not backing up photos, you're probably going to be under that limit. Documents don't take up that much space. Once you turn on photo backup, chances are you may be approaching or beyond that 5 gigabyte limit. So up to you how you do that. If you are an Office 365 subscriber, there are two types of Office that are available. Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint, things like that. That's all. Actually, now they don't. I should fix the slide. They don't call it Office 365 anymore. They call it Microsoft 365. If you are a Microsoft 365 subscriber, meaning you pay the subscription fee, yearly subscription fee in order to use Excel and Word, then they give you a lot of OneDrive storage for free. They give you a terabyte for free. So if you're a subscriber to a Microsoft 365, there's really not a lot of good reasons to not use OneDrive to back up your stuff if you're thinking about it. You just have a ton of storage for free. Now, Microsoft also sells a one-time payment version of Office, and it's like the Student and Home Edition. It's like $150. You don't get that extra storage with it. So if you have that one, you're still stuck with 5 gigabytes unless you pay more. But Office 365 subscribers will get more storage in their OneDrive if they wanted to. So if you're interested in turning on OneDrive, you can look for that little cloud bottom right-hand corner, search your computer for Windows Backup, and that will help you turn it on. So all of them offer some type of collaboration. Google Drive is kind of the one that is, I think, the best as far as collaboration goes, meaning that because OneDrive requires Office 365 for collaboration, if you have a document and you want to have other people work on it, they have to have Office 365 in order to work on it. So, not everybody has it. If you're working at a business and everybody has it, then that's one thing. But your friends may have the paid version of Office 365, or they may be Mac users, something like that. Google Drive is agnostic, meaning that if you want to either, Google Drive has, a built-in, they have a built-in kind of word processing program called Google Docs, built-in Excel with called Google Sheets. They've built in PowerPoint thing, and you can use those to collaborate and designate people who can work on that document with you, who can edit that document, who can view that document. You can also put your Word documents in it and have other people edit them. So Google Drive, as far as collaboration goes, I think is probably the best. OneDrive is nice in that it's built into your computer, and you can just set it and forget it and back up your stuff to OneDrive. But Google Drive is maybe a little bit more powerful and a little bit easier for more people to use because not everybody's going to be in that Microsoft world. They all do some version of versioning. How many versions of old documents? You can always snap back to a previous version of a document. They all will keep certain number of deleted documents, so you don't have to panic if you delete a document. Or I mean, you don't have to panic unless you're beyond 30 days. Then you can panic. But if you delete a document and you've got 30 days to get it back, other perks, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I guess one thing worth mentioning on a couple of these, if you really want to, you can set documents so that they're only in the cloud. So in theory, if you had a ton of documents and you had an old computer with a tiny hard drive and you're running out of room, you could say, well, I want all my OneDrive documents to only be in the cloud. I'll see them on my computer, but they won't be living there unless I happen to click on them and open them, in which case they'll be downloaded. I don't think that's as good an option for most people as just having all your stuff on your computer all the time. But if you're desperate for space, it's a nice option to have. And then iCloud Special gets its own slide. This is Apple's version of the cloud. This will back up all the files on your computer. If you do have to turn it on, just like the other ones. You can search your computer for iCloud and turn it on there. It also does some good syncing, meaning that all the stuff that's sitting on especially if you're in the Apple world, all the stuff that's sitting on your iPhone will automatically appear on your computer. You put a contact on your iPhone. You want them to be on your iPad and you want them to be on your computer. So iCloud will sync between all these, plus make them available on the web. A lot of people don't realize that. You can go to iCloud website, iCloud.com, log in with your Apple ID and password, and boom, there's all your stuff is available there should you need it as well. So two main things, backing up all this stuff. So you go and get a new iPhone, sign into iCloud, all your stuff appears there, and the settings for your iCloud are also there as well. Also, if you have an iPhone, iPad, computer, everything syncs between all the devices, including photos. Photos can appear on all your devices. Now you have your options of which things sync, because some people are afraid of using, I don't know if afraid, don't want to use photos with iCloud because, like everything else I've said, they give you a certain amount of storage for free, and then they start charging you once you go beyond that. So that is something to keep in mind, that Apple gives you 5 gigabytes for free, which is nothing. As soon as you start storing stuff on iCloud, then it's at least 99 cents a month once you move beyond that 5 gigabytes. But this will certainly make your life easier. If you're a Windows user, you can download iCloud for Windows, and it lets you do a couple things on your Windows machine. Most importantly, photos. If you want to download your photos from your phone to your computer, you can turn that on, and that will automatically do it. It will also allow you to bring in your passwords, which is nice. If you save your passwords on your phone, bring it into your computer, and allow you to use it with things like Chrome if you have a Windows computer. So it does a few things, not as much as if you're in the Mac world. It does allow for collaboration, but like OneDrive, you have to be using the Apple product. So you'd have to be using something like Pages if any of you use that. So their collaboration stuff is a little bit limited. And one nice thing about iCloud is they have a family plan. So if you and your spouse both have a ton of photos, then you can subscribe to a more expensive plan and just pay one amount for that plan and split it between the two of you. Now, as far as photo sharing goes, I know I kind of hit on this, but let's talk a little bit more specific about photos because they are unique. You can even tell in your iCloud settings in your phone when you go in there that your photos options are a little bit different from most of the other stuff. So if you're looking specifically for a place to back up and share photos, then you're looking at Apple Photos, Google Photos, OneDrive, well, Apple and OneDrive, Amazon Photos is an option for you as well as Flickr. Big, well, similar to what I was just talking about for the first three is the pricing. Apple Photos, that's just your iCloud pricing, like I talked a couple slides ago. Google Photos, same pricing. Photos plus Mail plus Drive plus or all the documents you've got in your Drive. If it's below 15 gigabytes, it's free. And then Microsoft is the same thing as OneDrive. So those are all the same. Amazon Photos is one that you may or may not have considered or know about. If you're an Amazon Prime subscriber and you're looking for a place to back up and share photos, you can download that app, Amazon Photos, and all of your photos, literally all of your photos are backed up to Amazon Photos cloud. Amazon Photos limits how many videos you can back up. They cut it, I forgot, I think it's like 15 gigabytes of video, something like that. So that's not ideal. But if you're mainly looking for a free place to back up your photos, then Amazon, and you're a Prime subscriber, Amazon Photos may be a place to go. Flickr is an option for a smaller number of photos. It's more useful for sharing. So all of these offer photo editing, which can be really, really amazing. Now, something to keep in mind, though, I should have mentioned this in the last slide with Apple. They do have different approaches to kind of deletions. So in the case of Apple, everything stays in sync, meaning that any edits you make to a photo are going to sync across all of your devices. Any deletions you make, if you say, oh, well, all my photos are syncing to my computer, so I'll just take them off my phone, wrong. You delete them off your phone, they're deleted off your computer. Everything stays in sync. A little more complicated with Google Photos. But they all have excellent photo editing. If you haven't tried them, worth doing. Google Photos has the magic eraser where you can remove people from the background, and that's coming to Apple Photos. It should be within the next couple months, similar type of function. So all that stuff is out there. Really good search on these things, meaning you can search for locations, you can search for they put together everybody with a similar face, so you can search for those faces. You can search for just things in the picture. I'll want to find pictures of skiing vacations, and I'll search for skiing, and it'll bring up pictures on skiing. So it's all very, very good. And then as far as kind of shareability goes, if you want other people to share them, Apple Photos works really well with other people who have Apple devices. Apple will allow you to set up shared albums on your phone that you can then let other people add photos to and access, or you can just send a link to somebody else. If they're not an Apple person, you can either send them an exact photo, or you can send them a link to a folder that you then put on the web. So that works okay. Google Photos, good shareability. Once again, if for other people who use Google Photos. Now, Google Photos is available, all of these ones, except for Apple Photos, are available on all platforms. Meaning with Apple Photos, if you have an Android phone, you cannot get Apple Photos as an app. You would have to use a link from the original person. Whereas if you have Google Photos, you can put that on an iPhone. You can put that on an Android phone. And then whoever uses Google Photos is able to share folders similar to Apple with anyone else that they designate, and you can access these through your Google Photos app. Microsoft Photos, I'm kind of not crazy about the app on the computer. I don't think it's very good. But if you are using OneDrive and you're looking for a place to back up your photos, that can be a part of that. So you don't have to, you don't have to pay for Apple Photos necessarily or Google Photos. If your photos are in OneDrive, they can be there and backed up to OneDrive as part of that subscription. So that is nice as far as backing up. And you can do some sharing with it. Not as slick or as nice as Apple Photos and Google Photos, which are just great apps. And then, yeah, you've got some of these options with Amazon and Flickr as well. So this is always a little bit of a challenge as an online class, because I cover a lot of different stuff and I can't see your faces and I don't know particularly what you're interested in. But that's my agenda. So why don't you just go ahead and put stuff in the Q&A, put stuff in the chat that you need me to talk about further, and I can do so. As far as demonstrating, I this is a little bit tricky. I can try my hardest, but ask away. If anybody's dying to talk, to say their question out loud, I could also turn on your voice, I believe. Just raise your hand. I know you're typing away. So Carol, I put my email. I don't know if you saw that. I put my email available in the chat. I'll put it in there again. If you want to get the slideshow, I'm happy to send it to you. Just email me at mike@vspchicago.com. So even better than a handout, you get the entire slideshow, but I just make you work a little for it. And this will be recorded. You can always go rewatch it. You know what, Lou? It's hard. I apologize. It's hard for me. Oh, and Lou just posted to host a panelist, and not everybody saw this message. He's walking us through. He asked how to. He is, or I'm sorry, or she is asking how to upload to Amazon, and I don't have a good way to demonstrate it. All I can tell you is get the app, get the Amazon Photos app, which is available on your app store. And then the way that all of these apps work is that when you go in, they'll ask you if you want to download. You'll have to sign into your Amazon account. They'll ask you if you want to upload all your photos to wherever, and you'll say yes, and then it'll just automatically do it, and we'll do it constantly. And one nice thing that you can do with these Photos apps is you can install multiple ones and back up multiple places, and it doesn't duplicate your photos. You have X number of photos on your device, and then it will back up to all of these different places. So if you want, you can download the Amazon Photos app, go into it, and it'll ask you if you want to back up, and then you don't have to delete your Apple Photos app, or you don't have to delete your Google Photos app. If you're on an iPhone and you're kind of crazy like I am, you can go ahead and you've got your built-in Photos app. You can download the Google Photos app, go in there, and it'll ask you if you want to back up your photos, and then you can download the Amazon app as well, and you're backing up your photos to 3 different places. The only caveat being that some of these may charge, but in the case of Amazon Photos, it doesn't charge. So, you back it up, you download the app, go in, and it's just backing up to another place without you even thinking about it. I'm sorry, Lou, this is not an ideal setup for me with this class as far as demonstrating and online, but I do think that if you go to your store, download the Amazon Photos app, that's a pretty easy app to use. You just, like a lot of this Amazon stuff, you sign into your account and then it just takes it from there. Actually, I'm trying to see where my phone is. I was going to take a look at it. There's so much garbage on my desk right now. I don't know where I put my phone. Make a sound on my watch, with my watch. There it is. I'm just gonna look in the Amazon Photos app. Yeah, give it a shot, Luke. And as is pointed out in the chat, you can't always make a one-on-one appointment in order to get this stuff looked at. Amy is great. She knows her stuff. Anonymous attendee says, I have a PC with Windows. Mostly I use Chrome. Could you give an example of how to back up externally at home? You talked about it, but I think I got confused with the tech language. You didn't get confused with the tech language, I don't think. You got confused with the options. That is the issue with this, is you've got so many options, and like a lot of the stuff in the world of technology, you've got the Google world competing with the Microsoft world, in your case. If you were an Apple person, you would have Apple thrown in there. So if you were looking at to back up your computer, anonymous attendee, then you would, first of all, potentially use one of those third-party services I mentioned, Backblaze, which is its own service. excuse me, full service backup. But then if you're looking to use something that's kind of a built in, it doesn't really matter if you use Chrome. Chrome is just another product made by Google. It's its own thing. Google Chrome is its own thing. Google Drive is its own thing. Google has all these different kind of stuff that they produce, of which Chrome is one. So you've got a couple options. You could go, hold on, let me go back a couple slides. So you could go to OneDrive, turn on OneDrive, and then all of your documents, say you want your documents and your photos back up to OneDrive, built into Windows, bada bing, bada boom. You may have to pay it at a certain point. Point is that everything on your computer is then also sitting in the cloud for you to access anywhere and also to be backed up. For Windows users, that tends to be the easiest way to back up your stuff, I think. Either that or one of these third-party programs. For people who want a little bit, I guess, more flexibility and power, Google Drive allows you, let's say you've got, a couple folders that you want backed up anywhere, and you're a big Google user or not a big Google user, or you have stuff that you want other people to be able to access. Google Drive will let you do stuff a lot more piecemeal. So you can go to Google Drive and say, well, I want these legal documents back up to the cloud because they're really important and I might have to share them with family members, things like that. So you've got these two choices. OneDrive is pretty much turn it on, all of your documents, all of your photos backed up. Google Drive, you can do that with this app called Drive for Desktop. My preference would be OneDrive as opposed to those two options, but Google Drive will allow you the freedom to just kind of much more piecemeal through the Google Drive website, drive.google.com, say, I want this shared, I want this backed up, I want this this shared, things like that. So hopefully that makes sense as far as the two. I mean, you're looking for kind of the easy built-in way on a Windows machine, then you're looking for OneDrive and you want to turn on OneDrive or one of these external products like Backblaze that I mentioned before. Carol, you're raising your hand. Does that mean you want to talk? I'll let you. Could I ask you verbally? Yes, go for it.
No, I was just looking to see what the other message was in here.
I'm sorry? I can hear you if you want to say something. No? Okay, I'm not sure whether you actually want to ask anything else, Carol, or not, but if you can put it back in the messages, I can allow you to talk or raise your hand again. I'm not sure what happened there. Joys of technology.
Okay. I'm back.
Okay, you want to say something?
Yes.
Is this the right Carol?
Yes.
Okay, shoot.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. You need to get more basic for me. All right, so I've been
I'll do what I can. I can only do so much in a class like this, but I'll do what I can, and then you can always make an appointment. Go ahead and ask your question.
okay. So I do most of my stuff on Google Documents, Google, and also on Microsoft Word. I want to back up everything. And I have it in the cloud, I assume. So I want to back up on an external thing. I don't want it to be on my computer because I want to have it in case I spill coffee all over my computer. So I want it external, I guess hard drive is what I want to say. And you're telling me to, if I have a particular document, then click on Google Drive and it will back it up.
Go ahead.
So like you mean I'm, for instance, working in a spreadsheet in Google Drive, and while I have this spreadsheet open, there's some place that I can click on Google Drive and it will back up the spreadsheet.
If you're using Google Drive by default, it's backing up. That means you're using it in the cloud, because everything on Google Drive lives in the cloud. Google Drive has two purposes. One, I go through these lightly because I cover a lot in the class. I actually have an entire class I do on Google Drive and Google Docs because you have so many options. But Google Drive lets you do two things. One is kind of a competitor to Microsoft Word and Excel and things like that, and lets you create documents. Okay. So those are all, because Google Drive just exists in the cloud, those are all literally by default saved to the cloud. Now, it also gives you the option to upload documents from your computer as a backup or for sharing. So if, this is where this mix and match stuff happens. You've got the spreadsheet that you've been working on Google Drive, you created in Google Drive, great. That's backed up, you can share it with whomever. You've got a spreadsheet you've been working on Microsoft Excel on your computer. That thing is not necessarily backed up and shared with anybody. You could back that thing up to Google Drive. You could turn on OneDrive, back that up to OneDrive. It's a separate thing. So ideally, you use one or the other based on whichever one is better. But yeah, by definition, the stuff you create in Google Drive or anything that's sitting in Google Drive is backed up. It's living once again in the cloud, bringing us all full circle somewhere.
I understand that, but but you said you recommended a second backup. I mean, that's all in the cloud. What if I want a second backup for that stuff?
That stuff you don't need to. The stuff that's on Google Drive, by definition, you don't need to. Now, if you really wanted to, and this is, I don't like to get too into this because this kind of confuses people and it's probably more than most people need. You can get, but I mean, it sounds like maybe you kind of are a little bit competent and you kind of know a little bit. But once again, I'm not recommending you do this because Google by default is the cloud. You can get Drive for Desktop, which is an app that you can put on your computer, and you can ask all of your documents in Drive to be on your computer as well, which is kind of the opposite of what I've been talking about. Because what I've been talking about is how I want all the documents on your computer to be in the cloud. But if you really want to, you could say all the documents in my Drive, I would like to be on my computer. Go Google Drive for Desktop. That's an app that you put on your computer. Yeah. And then you can have them all sitting there, and then you can back them up to an external hard drive or something like that.
Okay, one more comment.
Does that make sense?
I think so. So
and now, once again, most people don't do this because Google lives in the cloud, and that's kind of how it's designed. But it is there if you want to. Go ahead.
Okay. So anything I do in Google Drive, whether it's document, spreadsheet, whatever, and anything I do on Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel is automatically backed up in the cloud.
Not Microsoft Excel or Microsoft Word.
Okay, so
with those, you would have to be saving them to a place that's backed up in the cloud.
Okay,
and this all comes back to what I was talking about before. If you have OneDrive turned on, then everything that's saved to your documents in your computer is saved to the cloud through OneDrive. Okay. OneDrive is a Microsoft product. Microsoft Word is a Microsoft product. Microsoft Excel is a Microsoft product. So they all work really well together. So that is OneDrive. Now, let's say you work on it. You say, forget it. I don't want to deal with OneDrive. It's more money, whatever reason you have. If you wanted to, you could, let's say you finish using, you could get Drive for Desktop and automatically back up whatever folder it is that you're saving those documents to. That will back up to Google. So that Drive for Desktop app works kind of similar to OneDrive, where anything that you put in selected folders back up to Google. So that may be an option for you as well. Or you're done with this Word document. You're not planning on doing anything with it too soon, or maybe you want to edit at some point. You can always just move it to Google Drive, and then it's backed up there.
I can move my Microsoft stuff to Google?
Sure. Yeah, you can upload it. You go to the Google website, and there's an option there to upload files or upload folders. Upload it, share it with other people, edit it. You can do all that kind of stuff with it. But keep in mind that when you make changes on it on Google Drive, it's not going to be reflected on these changes on your desktop. So
Yeah.
unless you get that Drive for Desktop app, which keeps them in sync, then you're kind of thinking it more as you just have to be careful because your document that lives on your computer can potentially get out of sync with the one that lives on Drive that you're editing, if that makes sense.
Thank you. I understand.
So, you could try downloading that Drive for Desktop, playing around with it. That's an option for you. Although, once again, if you have the subscription version, that Office 365 version of Microsoft 365 version of Word and things like that, they give you so much storage for free that you may just be fine just turning on OneDrive and then forgetting it, and all your documents are backed up.
Thank you.
I know it becomes kind of, and this is for everybody, not it's you've got competing products that do things slightly different, all trying to get in the same space. In an ideal world, kind of what I think it was Carol, I think that was the name of the person I was just talking to. In an ideal world, you're mixing and matching based on what you're doing. So Carol is working on online documents in Drive, perhaps on spreadsheets and things like that, because then she can share it with other people and collaborate with other people really easily. All you got to do is log into Google, collaborate on those documents. But on the other hand, she's got documents that she's using on Word because her boss requires it, because her boss doesn't want to deal with any of this stupid online stuff. And she wants to make sure that that stuff is backed up. That's potentially a different thing. That's OneDrive. I'm not going to tell you the stuff is necessarily simple to kind of come to differentiate with them. What's important to me is that your documents that are important to you are backed up somewhere. Plus, if you're looking for these collaborative things, it's built into various places.
Okay.
What else you got for me? Just feeling clouded out, walking around with a cloud in your head like Charlie Brown, or Amy, you popping back on? Is that what I see?
Yep, that's me. Hi. Anybody else have any other questions? We just got a thank you. All right. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much. The recording will be up at some point. Let's see.
Could another country destroy our saved stuff in the cloud? I guess anything's possible. One thing that is nice about cloud storage compared to local storage is that should Iran decide to launch a bunch of nukes on the US and they happen to hit a cloud server, a data center in Nevada, redundancy means that your stuff is probably also saved to a bunch of other data centers, which hopefully they don't nuke as well. So redundancy is the key. And, it's kind of, as far as kind of a more real world stuff. I shouldn't say real world, but maybe what we should, I don't know. But anyway, as far as kind of how this works, not all your stuff is sitting on one computer somewhere. It's sitting multiple places. So hopefully if something happens, whether it's another country or just somebody tripping over a power cord, your stuff is available on other computers all over the place. And so you're still able to get your stuff. That was in the Q&A.
Yes.
Sorry, for those who didn't notice. Somebody wanted to know if our stuff, if another country could destroy our stuff in the cloud.
Yep, I saw that. I think, does anyone else have any other questions before we hop off? Give a second. All right. Well, thank you very much. This has been very educational. I learned new things. I always learn new things. So thank you again. And we have a good night. Thank you everyone for attending.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.